Hello, Internet. It's the day after Christmas, which means it's time for me to do my usual habit of setting up a camera and talking at it about an unspecified topic. If I seem a little bit low energy today, it's largely because I'm running on 4 hours of sleep and had to work a very stressful early morning shift. And then I went to the gym to try to work out to help me feel better, but not getting enough sleep makes everything feel harder and makes your body feel a lot weaker. So, definitely not exactly the greatest thing for one's ego. But with how low energy I've been feeling and just with a lot of the emotions that have kind of been lingering, it's led to me to think about how often people try to go out of their way to avoid things like sadness or anger. Now, there's a difference between avoiding it and learning to manage it. I want to make sure that I'm making that distinction quite clear. But a lot of modern society is very much predicated on constantly chasing after dopamine, as it were, constantly trying to feel good, chasing after the feel good, happy chemicals that you're never really given as much time as I feel you really need to really sit with your sadness and actually process it. I mean, we often see a lot of news stories about people who basically end up flatlining during the holiday season, and people talking about how depression rates tend to soar during the holidays, but very seldom do they ever actually look at the various reasons why. I mean, it could be for a variety of reasons. The economy is going down the tubes. That could be one major contributing factor. Years upon years upon years of unresolved family tension and family dysfunction, that could also be another factor. And there could even just be the case of the lack of sunlight or the fact that things look even more like crap now. I mean, the fact that it didn't really snow in most places for Christmas this year because people care more about being able to generate AI generated JPEGs than actually caring about the environment. And so, suffice it to say, there are plenty of reasons why people might not necessarily be feeling super jolly. But that can also lead to feelings of anger and resentment when it feels like the whole world is trying to beat you over the head with it. That's something that more or less occurred to me as I kind of went about my day and even tried taking care of some errands after getting off my shift, was just how people are just expecting happiness and jolliness all the time. But that's not really sustainable. I stumbled across a video a number of weeks ago talking about this thing called a dopamine hole. I can't remember the YouTuber's name off the top of my head. It was like an actual explanation. It was a really slow video that was really well done. But it kind of talks about how people who are essentially so used to getting their fix of dopamine end up in that dopamine hole where, like with any rise in elevation, you have a crash. And, well, we've been seeing that more and more technology, like this phone that I'm shooting this on, tries to focus on getting you more and more and more dopamine with each passing second. And as other people have pointed out, this constant influx of dopamine, this constant interaction of the brain, isn't really the baseline that humanity was designed for. And so naturally, when you're feeling a bit low and you have, well, advertisers and society at large telling you that you should be feeling happy and jolly, if you're a guy like me who struggles with this on a yearly basis, it can just make you incredibly angry and incredibly frustrated, especially when you try to say anything about how you're feeling or what you're going through. People just try to bury it. They don't actually hear you out. They don't actually help you to process it. And yeah, it kind of sucks, especially when people have very, I wouldn't say narrow, but very limited understandings of what things like depression or family dysfunction or just overall stress looks like. I mean, when most people hear the phrase family dysfunction, they usually assume a lot of yelling, but it can also manifest as passive aggression or willful obliviousness to underlying problems. And then you've also got cases where people are working in toxic workplaces that mentally and emotionally brutalize them, and then they get on your case for not joining in the festivities and not giving them their freaking medal just because they do the bare minimum of paying you and think, oh, yeah, we treated you like crap for 11 months out of the year. Here's a cheap little gift bag with a cheap little gift card that suddenly makes all of that okay. Yeah. I had a larger point to this, but honestly, it took me at least 5 or 6 different times to try to record something, and I even had to go and get a hit of caffeine to make sure I was awake enough. But I guess if I did have to say a point for this first vlog, is that people who struggle during this time of year, whether it's with depression or various other mental health issues, if you just find it hard to really feel jolly during this time of year, especially now that you're in the now what period after Christmas leading into the new year, I guess I'm saying this more for myself than really anybody else, but if you're someone who is struggling, know that you're not alone. And given what has been going on in the world in a lot of places, the numbers have been growing by the day. I wish I had an answer for what you can do to keep going. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. That's probably why I exercise as much as I do, because my training is probably one of the few things keeping me going at this point. Because it gives my body the physical release. It gives me something to aspire to. But I know that what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for everyone. So, yeah. Don't really know what else to really say here. Except that, hopefully, barring any surprises, I'll be back here, or, well, somewhere to shoot another one of these random vlogs where I just talk at a camera for who knows how long about who knows what. Hopefully I'll have a little bit more energy and maybe something a bit more optimistic to talk about. But honestly, this is just the thought that's prevailing in my mind today as someone who had to spend both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day working and hasn't really had much chance to rest. So, yeah. On that note, I will hopefully see you tomorrow for the next year-end vlog when I hopefully have more of an idea of what to talk about.